Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we have a Patreon request. One of my patrons, the Fifth Doctor, wanted to know what I think the most overrated story in classic Doctor Who is, which is no small feat, let me tell you. That's a tricky one when we're talking about 26 seasons. To pick one, it'd be different if it was like a top 10 or a top 5, but trying to pick the number one can be a little tricky, because there's a few that come to mind. I think the 10th Planet is very overrated. The Caves of Androzani, while being a masterpiece, I think is overrated. Because the Caves of Androzani, I think, is a masterpiece, but I don't think it's the best classic Doctor Who story, or in some people say the best Doctor Who story ever. I never quite understand that argument when people are like, it's the best Doctor Who story. I'm like, no. It's great. It's amazing. But I still think it's overrated. I'm trying to think of a couple other examples people make of stories that are just way, they get a little more. I think Curse of Fenric is a little overrated, even though I do think it's the quintessential McCoy story, even more so than Remembrance. I think it's a little overrated while still being a masterpiece. But at the end of the day, while there's a few you could banter on about, I had to go with the one that pops right in my head. Like if you just came up to me and said, what's the most overrated classic Doctor Who story of all time? There's always one that just pops right in there. It's always the first one in my mind. And I still had to stop and think about it, because it is a story I like. I don't think it's super great like everybody else seems to. But I like it. I don't dislike it. And that has to be the Daemons. I know so many people love the Daemons. And I have talked about the Daemons many times. People familiar with my channel know I'm just not enthused with that one. Now, let me be clear. It has a lot of aspects I love in it. I love the location work. It looks really good. I like the professor that's in the first episode, but that's mainly because he keeps telling the reporter to shut up. I didn't like the reporter, which is kind of the idea with him. I love the fact it's got a lot of Benton in it. I really like Benton. I'm a huge fan of Sergeant Benton. I don't know what it is. I just like Benton. So I enjoy the stories where he has more to do, especially when he's not just kind of there, but when he actually has things to do. And he really gets a lot to do in this story, which I really like. I enjoy the actress playing the kind of good witch character. I like her a lot. She's great. The actress and the character. I love the scene when the Doctor's tied up and they're about to burn him. And she's like, you were sitting here about to burn the great Qui or whatever she calls him. And, Benton's shooting the thing she's pointing out, making it think the Doctor's doing. I like that scene is really good. Delgado, of course, is great in this. Granted, if you're marathoning the whole season, by the time you get to this one at the end, you may be like, oh, look, it's the Master again. But that doesn't take away from the fact Delgado is just always amazing. He is my favorite Master. There's a good reason for that. He's just amazing. The problem with the story, one, being an American, I'm not quite as in tune with the Celtic heritage of the story. A lot of what's going on in it doesn't really connect with me. I don't like the ending. First off, the main entity they're fighting, I forget his name. The guy playing him is obviously the same guy playing Omega. Was it Stephen Thorne, is that his name? Playing Omega. And it's that same voice. And I saw Omega in the Three Doctors at such a young age that anytime I hear that voice, I think of Omega. For me, that's just Omega's voice that's in my head. I have the same problem with Hand of Fear Part 4 when he's playing Etherol or whatever the rock guy's name is. I'm not good at remembering these names. But it's to me, I just hear Omega's voice, and it kind of takes me out of the story. So hearing that voice kind of pulls me out. And then the fact that it's obviously a dude in a mask, which it's classic Who. You have to accept the limitations of classic Who and the budget and all that. But sometimes, even with that in mind, it's hard. Invasion of Time is a good example of the bad budget straining credibility. And here it is too. One, he's shirtless and he looks like he needs to go to the gym. Let's be honest, he's got a little bit of a pot belly. He needs to tone up a little bit, and that looks a little silly. The mask is obviously a mask. I mean, and Classic Who can do good masks. Like, I like the Draconians. That's a great mask. Like the Vogons or whatever they're called in Revenge of the Cybermen. That's a great mask. Here, it looks bad. And then the actual ending of he gets defeated because Joe's willing to sacrifice herself for the Doctor. You know, your selflessness and sacrificing yourself to me. It's that kind of thing bothers me. It's like the ending of Closing Time. We beat it. We did it, Alfie. We beat him with love. You can't sit here and like the ending of the Daemons and hate the ending of Closing Time. It's the same ending. It's the same thing. And I don't hate Closing Time. It has some cool stuff in it. The ending of Closing Time kind of ruins Closing Time. The ending of the Daemons really pulls down the Daemons. This entity that's so powerful and can do so much and godlike powers can't understand self-sacrifice. Which I get, it shows just how alien these entities are, that they can't grasp what to us is basic empathy. I get that, and I get kind of maybe the message the episode's trying to communicate there, but it just doesn't work for me. And don't get me wrong, it's a very Joe Grant thing to do. I love the fact that that is completely in Joe's character. She is so selfless. She'll sacrifice her life to save a bird, which that part I don't quite agree with, but if I had been Yates when she jumped out, no, you can't do that, I'd been like... Also, the scene when Yates is fighting, when the guy's trying to steal the helicopter, is choreographed badly. Like, sometimes it's from the first-person point of view of the attacker he's fighting. When you see Yates, like, that's really choreographed very badly. I'm watching it, and I'm like, this is terrible. The whole bits with the helicopter right there when the guy's hijacking it's kind of weird. I don't connect with the story. It's good performances. It's good performances. But the ending is very anticlimactic to me. Again, I don't buy Steven as the bad guy because all I hear is Omega. He doesn't look that intimidating to me. Although I do like when John first walks into the room and sees him, and John's just like, he really does have this oh crap look on his face when he sees that how tall he is. John does that really well. John's another one of those great actors who can do so much with just his facial expressions. So yeah, that's really good. So I don't dislike the Daemons. Let me be clear. I like the story. I just think it's not like this top tier story. I prefer, I like the Daemons better than the Dominators. But I think the Daemons isn't as good as the Mind Robber. Matter of fact, I think Colony in Space is better than the Daemons. And I sometimes think I'm the only one on the planet that thinks that. But I would much rather watch Colony in Space than the Daemons. Because the Daemons, while being an episode shorter, feels like it drags more. Just to me personally. So if I had to pick one episode in classic Doctor Who that I think is the most overrated, it would be the Daemons. While still being a good episode. Not a good episode, but a good episode. I don't get all of the attention it gets, including from Pertwee himself. I think it was Pertwee's favorite story from his era. It doesn't work for me. I like it, but it's one I can just go back and rewatch, I think, every blue moon. I've seen the regular version of it, and I've seen the omnibus version of it. They both drag to me. I get a little bored. I have to take breaks. Even the omnibus version took me a while to get through. It just doesn't grab me. So that's my thoughts on the most overrated story in classic Doctor Who. I want to know what you think the most overrated story in classic Doctor Who is. So comment down below and let me know. I want to give a special shout out to the Fifth Doctor. I appreciate this patron request. It was definitely one I had to... It's like I kind of knew the answer right away, but I still had to think about it just so I could second guess myself and wonder, well, is that... Yeah, it's that one. I also want to give a shout out to another one of my top tier supporters, Stephen Crane. I appreciate both of their continued support. If you would like to join my Patreon, there's a link to that down in the description below with several different tiers to choose from. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me, and a link to my Amazon wish list, which I update regularly, is down there as well. Or if you just have a moment and you've enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you just click the like button and the subscribe button. That would mean a lot to me. I'm always trying to grow the channel, having a heck of a time trying to break that 750 subscriber mark. It's like I'll get up to like 748 and I'll go back down to 747. I can't quite break that 750 mark. That's my goal right now, as I'm recording this anyway. Most importantly though, thank you for watching.